Hello and welcome to another episode of Huge Update Interviews, and I'm currently with the programmer of KERFUFFLE. Please introduce yourself.
My name's Nathan Ranney. My Twitter is Rat Casket, which is what a lot of people know me by.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I pretty much came across you
Yeah.
through Twitter and through just other devs pushing your work out there, and
hmm
um, I've seen KERFUFFLE pop up on a number of Twitter hot picks for the week and all that, and I
Really?
yeah, yeah, you've
Oh,
got
I don't know about any of those if that's happening. They don't tell me.
yeah. It's like obviously like every week there's stuff like the Sunday what was it, the Saturday screenshot,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Screenshot
and
Saturday.
normally a bunch of those gifs will get picked up by various websites, and they'll normally kick them out and just say look at what's hot coming out now. And
Oh, cool.
I've seen yours and a few other people's turning up there, and that's how I came aware of you. And I've talked to you on Twitter about uh your development, and asking. Well, I asked you the other day, it's if you were making it for Mac, and you came back and said no. But I found another way of getting hold of your game on a PC, and we've been
Oh,
knocking
hold
around
on.
with it.
Good. I need as many people playing it as possible because I'm making it by myself in the middle of the U.S. where no one lives, and I don't have anyone to play it with. I can maybe do two players every now and then, but for the most part, I have no idea how this game even plays. I have no
Yeah.
clue.
So as let's talk about actual kerfuffle, and first let's just say what it is, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's a 2 to 4 player arena brawler with one hit kills, and that's probably gonna change, but it's not like a Smash Brothers thing where you have to knock someone off the stage, and it's not like a regular fighting game where you have a health bar. Um, it's kind of in the same vein as stuff like Samurai Gun and Towerfall,
Yeah.
but not as good as Towerfall
I don't
because
know.
I don't know.
There's
I just don't think it is.
there's some stuff that I'm seeing that's coming out of your creation that's making me more interested in kerfuffle than Towerfall, but I won't deny the fun of Towerfall, because Towerfall relies on pickups and being very tactical with your shots, being very aware of your shots, while
Yeah.
your game seems to be more on asynchronous character setups and more of an actual fighting game almost, with the mind games that
Yeah, I
can actually
wanted
go on.
to focus more on the mind game aspect of it and not really like a resource management. I mean, the only thing you have to manage is your shield, which you only get one of at any given time, and you can only have a maximum of one. And when you use it, even if you don't block anything, it's gone until you get another one. So this really the only resource you have to manage unless you're playing a mode where you have lives. But uh, one of the things I didn't like about like Samurai Gun and Towerfall was that it felt like there was a huge lack of mind games, and that's something I think comes from all the items and stuff that's in it. Like you still have to manage it, you still have to kind of think about what your opponent can and can't do, but their the asynchronous stuff in those games come from asymmetrical levels and power ups and like ammo. So Samurai Gun, you have 3 bullets in your sword if you don't know. So if you shoot, then you have one less bullet and I have more, so technically I'm at an advantage. And that's kind of how Towerfall works too, with having arrows and all that stuff. So I wasn't a big fan of the resource management and wanted to just cut that out, but still keep the mind games and the little bit of nuance to what's going on. So that's why I wanted to do different characters that have different abilities and like movement speeds and attack range and things like that.
Yeah, and just what seeing some of the animations, definitely every character has a very precise design to them.
hmm
um and even some have projectiles, some have close quarters. It's very interesting to see that you've actually introduced the shield, because looking at that's more of a recent development. So it's interesting to see that you because I know that you talk quite openly about how many builds you've made of this game.
hmm
like you regularly like are adding new features in, like changing things very rapidly. And I just wondered if you wouldn't mind just like talking about like more of like the origins of this game, because I find it quite fascinating where this game originally came from and how it came to actually turn into the proper, well, what more or less will be the end result of Kerfuffle, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. It was an idea that I've had for a long time, really, and I was discussing it with some friends. And then one weekend, I just started making it on like a Saturday or something like that. And someone told me, hey, this fits the Ludum Dare theme for this weekend. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. The theme was a whole game on one screen.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so this works. It's just two guys hitting each other with swords. This is fine. So I worked on that and I made it as fast as possible in that weekend. I think I finished the original build in under 48 hours, which you can go download and play because it's a fully functional thing.
Yeah, and was that the time frame for that game jam? Was it 48 hours or was it longer? Just out of
I,
interest.
I think it was 72.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 72 because if you work with a team, it's 72 hours. If you work by yourself, it's 48 hours. They have two different things going on at Ludum Dare every time. So
Yeah.
I technically had a team because I had someone doing sound.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I got that done, and it ended up being pretty fun. And after a couple of months, I added some stuff to it and just kind of kept trying to make that version as best as possible.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting a bunch of different characters that had different attack ranges and speeds, but that was about it. There wasn't anything special about them otherwise.
Yeah,
And
like I'm seeing the gif of it, and I'm just like thinking like it's a very aggressive, like Thomas is alone, fighting game.
yeah. Well, I didn't have time to do art, and I'm an awful artist.
Yeah.
So all I could do was little square people with faces, and that's
Well,
what I did.
I'm probably gonna like dig out this game because just to see what it is, because like I played Kerfuffle the version now, and I want to play this version just to see like just the how tight just to see if the level of tightness was there to like to where it is now.
It's actually way better.
Is it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine so. But I'm always fascinated to see like just like that progression, especially in game jams, because it is just such a small window of development.
Hmm.
And I'm always blown away by like what developers can do in that like limited amount of time, and just like expressing themselves in such in more of a freeing way, as it were. So yeah.
Yeah, the original version is actually way better with the little squares because there's a lot less to consider, like
Yeah.
animation and all that stuff. And that version only has has one character, one attack. The shield is in it, but I don't think it's limited, so you can just kind of spam the shield. So that's stupid. Um, and dashing in that version is invincible.
Yeah.
So that's something that just had to go because it ended up being totally broken and stupid. But I don't know. I like that version a lot. It's way faster pace, which is something that I just realized I had broken. Because, like I said, I can't really test it with four people, and
Yeah.
I'm testing it in a vacuum. So to me, everything seems fine. Well, I finally saw people playing it. It's so slow. It's way slower than it should be, and I need to ramp that up to bring it more in line with the original design.
Yeah. I believe you posted up like someone was having it at a convention
Hmm.
the
Yeah,
other
it was.
day.
Yep, it was at Bit Bash Chicago.
Oh, that would have been awesome to see.
Yeah, I didn't get to go because it's like a 9-hour drive from here, and I don't have any money.
Yeah.
But someone sent me a video, and I guess they had it projected on like a big 10-foot screen, and there were a bunch of people playing it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No. So like from like where the game jam was to like where it is now, like it's been over 6 months. It's coming up to 8. So like
Yeah.
how'd that process for you? How did that go?
I work full time during the day, so I'm kind of working on this game in my spare time and trying to get it done. So it's taking a lot longer than it should, and it's probably way more stressful than it should. But it's been really hard because I'm an awful programmer. Like, I'm not good at any part of game development. I can't do art, sound, or programming. I'm just skating by on what I'm learning as I'm doing it, because before this, I've only made 2 other games that are really simple. And before I made those, I had 0 programming knowledge whatsoever. So I started to teach myself programming when I started to make my first game, and I just have to pick everything up as I go.
Yeah.
So it's taking really long because of that, and because I work full time, and it's just me and one other guy. And the guy doing the art lives in Austria,
Right.
so we're on totally different schedules. So sometimes it's hard to coordinate that. And he's only been working with me on it for, I think, 5 or 6 months. So there were 2 or 3 months in the beginning there where it was still just the squares
Yeah.
and like the shitty programmer art, and I was just kind of refining it and trying to find an artist.
Right.
So yeah, it's just taking forever for those reasons.
Yeah. No, I see many like games going through the same development of just like it's normally just a person on their own and they have a part-time job or full-time job, and like it is a labor of love to actually put in the effort to get it done. And just reading through your devlog, it definitely seems like it has taken its toll on you, but it also seems at the same time that it's been, as much as it makes anger out of it, it must be all paying off, because people are definitely like picking it up and especially enjoying it. So that must be like a huge boost to the development side.
Kinda. This event in Chicago over the weekend, this is the first real build of the game I've ever been able to put out that has multiple characters and has like a timer, and you can play a full game from start to finish with up to 4 people. It's the first time I've ever been able to do that. And then it comes out, and like later that day, I realized how bad it was, and just kind of had a crisis. Like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is the worst fucking game anyone's ever made. I've been wasting, not my time really, because whatever, I'm still learning something, but I'm wasting Martin's time, who's the artist. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, he's putting all this effort into a game and I'm just fucking it up and it's bad. And I actually need to update my devlog about this, but it really sucked and I was in a really bad mood, and like I felt sick to my stomach that whole day and got really depressed. And I came home and I told my girlfriend, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is a fucking disaster. This game's awful. No one's gonna like this. And then people are saying they enjoy it, and they're coming back with a lot of really good feedback that's going to help me significantly improve it. So I kind of, it was like a roller coaster, like an opposite roller coaster. Where you just start at the bottom and everything sucks, and then you get to the top and it's like, okay, wait a minute, I can fix this. This is gonna be okay. So I'm hoping I can do that within this next week and put out a new build for people to try.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. Just obviously as a developer, and especially right now, for you, you're using your builds as your open builds as like more or less as a QA test. So it's got to be this like this back and forth of just like, right, what are they enjoying? What aren't they enjoying? What do I think needs to get actually changed? What actually does need to get changed? Because yeah, that's just the back and forth as it is. And
yeah, and interpreting that feedback is can be tricky sometimes, because you get people who obviously aren't game designers. You know, they're just people on Twitter or whatever who want to play it, and I'll give the build to anybody who wants to play it. I just don't have it like a public link anywhere because I want to know how many people are out there playing it and just kind of keep track.
Yeah.
But they'll say, oh, I thought it was really fun, but this character sucks, and they don't know why that character sucks or why they think that character sucks. So they have to go in and look at that character, and this happened. Someone said Quark, which is the duck.
Yeah.
The space duck guy. They're like, oh, he sucks. He's too slow and he's hard to control. And he's actually super strong, like maybe overly so, because all of his attacks are projectiles, and just the way projectiles work in the game is really, really strong. So people don't necessarily understand why they think certain things, but I'm taking all that feedback with a grain of salt and trying to find out why they're saying that stuff. Even though I know that feedback isn't exactly true, there's some truth to it somewhere, and I just have to find out what it is.
Yeah, and that's also another like sign of just development. There is just like taking that feedback, finding those like little nuggets of information. Because as you say, like not everyone's a game developer, not everyone. It's just personal opinions. So like you're saying, you're doing the right thing. At least you're finding what is actually wrong, what is right. But like, would you be wanting to be, if possible, like doing more local events so you can be there to actually react to it right more personally, or are you more comfortable with it being just out and about and just you keeping track of the metrics as it is currently going?
I'm okay with it just being out and about, because that way people can play it on their own time and then provide like big long emails of feedback, which is really good. There's also not any local events around me really, so I can't really do that.
Right.
I mean, maybe I can. Maybe I can afford to go to some of these events sometime, but having someone sit down and play a 2-minute round at a giant convention and then say, okay, so what did you and didn't you like? And trying to fish that out of them might be kind of difficult.
True.
Like either way, I think a more intimate setting where it's just me and a couple of people, or a couple of people playing it on their own time and then reporting back to me, I think those are way more beneficial, at least to me.
Yeah. So actually, out of curiosity now, like, what are you building this in? Like, what engine and what program language are you using?
Oh, I'm building it in GameMaker.
Yeah.
GameMaker Studio. Yep.
Yep. And are you using the original code, or have you broken it down and basically created your own, or what?
Oh, no, I don't use anything built into GameMaker unless it's absolutely necessary. Like, some of the stuff is kind of goofy, and you end up having to use GameMaker's built-in setups, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's all my own.
Right.
I don't use any of the drag and drop stuff. Definitely none of that.
Yeah. I remember when GameMaker started like coming out and like people started picking up and they're like reporting back saying like this is a really great like beginner tool, but to get anywhere they all had to do the exact same thing that you've done and pretty much break it down and rebuild it to where they are comfortable with it. And I always find that really interesting to listen to, because it's just like pretty much just like someone buying a car going, it's okay, but I can make it better, and they go in the garage for a few days and they come out with a brand new car.
Yeah, well, people do that, but no, the thing, like, GameMaker has a weird stigma attached to it because of that. Where people say, "Oh, you're making this in GameMaker? Isn't that a stupid thing for stupid people with its own dumb language and it sucks?" And like, yeah, it is. I mean, the GameMaker language kind of sucks in a lot of ways, and using GameMaker sucks in a lot of ways, but it doesn't suck as much as me trying to learn C# and Unity and make a 2D game in Unity, which is notoriously shitty.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just drives me nuts when people say negative things about your game based on the engine or the program or whatever it is you're using to make it. Like, if you look at an artist who draws an amazing portrait or picture, or landscape, whatever the fuck, with like a ballpoint pen, like a Bic pen.
Yeah.
No one goes, "Oh, this is bullshit. You drew this with a pen." They're like, "Holy shit, you made this with a pen?" You know what I mean? Like, the media or the tool used to produce the media isn't as important as the media, and a lot of people see it that way, and it drives me nuts, or don't see it that way.
Yeah, it can swing both ways, but it definitely seems it swings the opposite, the negative way more often, because it's like a great example for GameMaker is a really early success of like, was it Go to the Moon? Or To the Moon? That's it.
Yeah, wasn't that RPG Maker?
Oh, sorry, that was RPG Maker. I'm sorry.
Well, Hotline Miami was made in GameMaker.
Oh, yeah, there's an even better example. That's, yeah.
It's $1 million, well, it's a franchise now. It's $1 million franchise.
Yeah.
And Hyperlight Drifter's made in GameMaker, and I think Towerfall was made in GameMaker.
Yeah.
Maybe. Pretty sure. But it's just it gets a bad rep because there's a million people like me who don't know how to program, and they're like, "Oh, here's my game, and it's really good," and I didn't get any feedback on it, and I'm just making a game as a hobby, and this is a nice hobbyist tool, and a lot of them make shitty games that look bad and sound bad and play bad, but that's not a problem with the tool used to create them. It's a problem with the creator not having the experience or the know-how to do so.
So that's actually something where I wanted to go in this discussion, is because you've just said like creator and you more or less as a creator yourself. It definitely seems that you have that very strong creator mentality, because again, like, this isn't your only project that you're currently working on, or like I don't know how far you are in the other projects, but it seems like they're in development in some stage, and that's definitely something that I've been more interested as you as like a rat case, just because that side of creativity is what is going to probably make like Kerfuffle and what your other projects are going to be very unique. It definitely seems to what makes Kerfuffle a standout right now, is because the level of creativity in it is very strong, and I think that actually does come across quite well. And I think like in your other projects, you probably will do the same. So, do you feel like the same? Like, do you feel that that level of creativity that you have is definitely something that's gonna that does show through?
I hope so. Because if I would have kept Kerfuffle the way it was, where all the characters are the same, I don't think there's any point in making that game. Like, I don't care. That game already exists. Like Samurai Gun, where all the characters are the same and they got a sword and they hit a guy. Like, that game exists. No one has to make that. It's there. So, any of the games that I want to make, they're all inspired by other stuff, because that's what games are inspired by most of the time. Games inspire other games, which is
it's just a starting off point.
Which is inherently a bad idea, I think, because then you get I don't know. None of my games are all that unique. They're just different enough.
But
it's
just like a little kickstart for you. It's nothing more than just like a point of like reference, or just like something to look back on. But then after a while, the project itself has moved so far away that it no longer represents what you started with. Because as you said, it's like you started trying to like make a little like Towerfall game or a little Samurai Gun game, but now you've got asynchronous battle fighting type platformer, which is a lot further away from them, and now pretty much setting into its own like little niche area. So you definitely seem to be creating like little projects that definitely do move into their own space, which is very unique to see.
Yeah, I'm definitely not interested in making clones of games that I think are good. Like, if I ever make a Metroid clone, which I never would, because I've never played Metroid, and I would just never do that. Like, there's no point. Metroid exists. Why the fuck would I waste my time making Metroid? And there's a lot of people that do that are, whatever, they're good games. Like, I've been playing Zeo Drifter.
Yeah.
And that's an alright game. It has a lot of problems. None of those problems, however, are all the shit that it rips directly out of Metroid. But I don't get I'm going to make this retro game because I like retro games, and I'm going to make it exactly like the retro games that I like. And there's a lot of that stuff, and it does pretty well somehow. But I don't see the point in doing that, and I'll never... Like, I try so hard to avoid doing samey shit that everyone else does. And sometimes you can't really avoid it. Like, if someone already has the best design, then you kind of just got to go with it. There's no point in reinventing the wheel in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But, I still try very, very, very hard to do things differently. And if I find out that something I'm doing is the same in another game, like, I'll just say fuck it and change it. Unless it's, super important and has to kind of stay that way. You know what I mean? Like, like Metroid. Like, if I was going to make a Metroid, the gun is pretty important, to that style of game. So if I didn't I couldn't make that without the gun, you know.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like how as Metroid as this as a point of conversation here, just like the level of upgrades to then progress throughout the map.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this the other day, and I thought when I was playing Drifter, like we have a lot of cool, and we call them Metroidvania games, but a lot of them aren't. They're just straight up Metroid games because Metroidvania is you take Metroid and you add RPG elements to it, like Symphony of the Night. That's
Yeah.
Metroid, wherein you gain power ups and you traverse a open-ended level. Depending on your power ups, that they act as like keys to open different doors
Hmm.
or to get to different places. But you level up and you get gear and you do all kinds of other goofy shit that's not part of Metroid. It's a Metroidvania where you have Axiom Verge, and that's a Metroid clone, 100%. In every single way, it's a clone of Metroid, other than different powers and guns. But still, like that's the core. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, the template
X.
is there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I was just thinking that Metroid's like 30 years old now, or 29 or something. It just had a birthday,
Yeah.
and we're still just making that game. Axiom Verge just came out, and
Yeah.
it did really well, and people love it. Like we're still just making Metroid, and there hasn't been a huge change to that genre. And I was wondering, how do you take that kind of progression system and make it totally different while still kind of being the same? Because you have to be the same if you're going to say, I'm going to make a Metroid game, but I'm going to make a super different one.
Yeah, but
And I,
at that
yeah,
point, the conversation no longer stays as I'm making a Metroid game. It then turns into I was inspired by Metroid, but here's
yeah,
my game. Here's my
that's
interpretation of a Metroid game.
that's
Which,
true. We do get a whole lot of, oh, this is inspired by, when it's a straight rip. Like, inspired by Metroid, says Axiom Verge, or just for example, I don't know if he said that. I have no clue.
the
But
marketing said that. I'm not sure about him. I know for like reading about Action Verge, it took the guy over like 6 years to make. He made it by himself, apart from like
mhm,
I think like 2 tracks was from some other guy, but everything else, even including the music, was all him, and it was
mhm.
a huge, pretty much love letter, labor of love type project that just took him forever. And now that it's out, it has probably made all the time and effort good for him.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
sure.
and people definitely seem to be picking up on it and like going like, "Yep, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for." But like as you're saying, and something that I actually find more interesting these days is it what we want or is it just what we think we want? Because like as you said, like the level of creativity, as you said, it's just like it's a Metroid game, but I want to see him pushing that, or I want to be playing an experience that I've not seen, or an angle that I've not or not even felt before, type
Hmm.
thing. And they're the stuff that I think like something like Kerfuffle is definitely like looking at. It's going to head towards because just as a little example is when you talk about spikes
Hmm.
and horizontal like damages and how you created the idea within your hot springs level, the idea of the monkeys.
Oh yeah, the like player controlled hazards,
Yeah,
or
that's it.
hazards that players have some sort of influence over.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
actually really clever, and it's probably something I've not seen that often in these type of games. Actually, probably not even I've seen anything like it. It's because it looks like it's an idea from like more like from a MOBA, like when you pick a fight with NPCs in like a jungle. But
Oh yeah.
seeing it in this type of game, it's fresh and interesting, and I think that actually opens up new mind games. Because as soon as I saw the monkeys, it's just like, can I jump down there? Like, can I taunt a player, get them to follow me, taunt the monkey to then for the player to fall down to then get attacked by the monkey, and
Hmm.
it's just like that type of stuff. It's just like that opens up new levels of play, which I find more interesting.
Yeah, and it's actually becoming really hard to design levels because I want to have some sort of player controlled hazard in some way.
Right.
Like the monkeys, they just chase whoever wakes them up.
Yeah.
But they will kill anyone that touches them if they're awake. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So you can like almost lead a bunch of them to one side of the level,
Yeah.
and then when they lose you, they wander back slowly to their side. But there's been a couple of good things I've seen on video of people where someone got chased down into there, and they were running from monkeys, so the other person could safely chase them across the bottom of the level because none of the monkeys cared that they were there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I'm really interested in, and it is difficult to find new uses for that in other levels because I don't remember how that one came up.
Yeah.
I think it was just because it was a hot springs, and we wanted the bottom stage to be a hazard zone, and there's those macaques in Japanese hot springs that just red faces and white fur or whatever, and they just pass out.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much how, like, because I've got your like dev blogs in front of me, so it's like, yeah, that's how it pretty much all happened. Is like, you pretty much say like you and Marcus were like going back and forth on like a level design, and you settled on the hot springs, and that led you to the inspiration of the Japanese monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Which
our next level is like a Colosseum type level, so it's it's flat, and the bottom level is totally safe.
Yeah,
there's some platforms and stuff because it would be awful if there were no platforms, but I have no idea what to do for hazards in that level. It's just really difficult.
I'm pretty sure something will come because, like I say, you definitely seem to be a guy who like will probably just like share an idea, go back and forth on it, and will come out with a solution. And it's just
or if I don't, I'll have 700 test builds until I find the right one.
Yeah, exactly. Because that definitely seems like you're definitely not shy of, and it's great to see that you've really adopted the sharing aspect of what you can do with your builds.
Mm-hmm. I just wish I could get it to more people, but if I could put it on early access for free, I would. But I don't think that's a thing. I don't know if you can do that.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember if you can actually do that.
Because right now I'm kind of doing that, where if anyone who helps me gets the game for free when it's done, and that's kind of lured some people in. But
yeah, I mean, like obviously, like Steam's going to be where this game's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be on Steam and PlayStation 4 at the very least.
Oh really? PlayStation 4? Have you been in talks, or is it just the goal?
No, they played the original version in like January, and they're like, "Yep, this is a good game. So let us know when you're ready, and we'll put it on the thing."
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there's a Kerfuffle puzzle game too. It's going to come out around the same time, which is a. Have you played Puzzle Fighter?
Yeah.
It's Puzzle Fighter, but with Kerfuffle characters and some other stuff in like a 4-player mode.
Oh, cool. Is that done by a third party, or is that something else you got on your docket?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm providing design input and like the art and stuff, but I'm not.
Yep. What was that?
Oh, did my headset shut off?
Yeah, just a loud ping just happened. You alright?
Oh, yeah. I don't hear it when that happens. My headset's wireless and kind of acts goofy.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's fine.
Sorry. So yeah, someone else is doing the programming, but I'm providing the art that we already have and some design input and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know that you've said before, like working with Marcus, like him being in Austria, it's tough. But I'd be like, I'm guessing like with like technologies such as like Dropbox and just like doing Skype calls, I'm guessing it helps a lot.
Oh yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, have you actually just grown accustomed to it, or would you like to eventually at some point set up like a studio space and get a team more or less together and just have it more as a in-house type project? Or are you comfortable right now having it more? Do you enjoy like the open use of the internet more?
It's fine. It's not causing too many problems because Martin's a super hard worker. So if I'm not online, he's still getting stuff done, and then I'll check the Dropbox, and he's like, "Here's all the stuff, and here's the notes you need to use it," and it's really helpful. And luckily, I work a job where I can be on Skype 24 hours a day, so I usually get to talk to him. The only
Yeah.
time it's been a problem is this whole last week leading up to Bit Bash. We were still trying to get the build ready. We didn't have the fourth character done, and his internet went out for the whole week.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I can't remember how he got files to me, but because he lives on a farm in Austria,
All
so
right.
so he had to go into some city and get internet, and he only had like one day he could do it,
Yeah.
and got everything over, and thankfully it worked. So that's really the only time we've had a problem.
Yeah.
I would like to have a studio because I don't like working at home all the time, and I would like to quit my shitty day job,
Yeah.
which
Uh,
yeah, I just hate working all day and then coming home, and I want to be motivated to work, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So there's been plenty of weeks at a time when nothing gets done on Kerfuffle because of that. So yeah, if I could, I would have a studio for sure. Even if it's just me and one other person in there, that's infinitely better than being completely disconnected from people.
yeah. I mean, do you feel that like obviously you just said so, but like in terms of like, do you use Twitter to like talk to other creators? Is
Uh,
that has that been like a source of like inspiration for you, just like seeing how other projects have been going, or have you been keeping more or less to yourself with all of that?
no, I try to talk to people. I usually don't talk to them through Twitter because it's hard. Twitter sucks for conversation.
Yeah.
So I'll befriend people on Twitter and then add them to Skype and talk to them on Skype all the time. That's something I do pretty often.
Right. And like, well, who are these? Like, who's the people that you've been more or less in contact with? Who have been the people that you've been finding the most use of like keeping like your creativity up, and who have you been finding like their projects to be the most interesting that you've found?
Oh, let me see. There's a whole bunch. Let me see if I can get their Twitters for you.
Yeah.
The one of the first people I met and had a lot of fun with, and still enjoy talking to, is Corey McDaniel, who's
Right.
making Cloudface and Dad Beat Dads.
Dad beat dads. I
Yeah,
think I've heard of that. Yeah.
and his Twitter is at Siskavard, Siskavard.
Right.
He's good people. He's like a professional animator for Nickelodeon or some shit. I can't really remember.
All right.
Um, let's see. There's Elian, whose Twitter I think is just this is Elian, Ellian. Brent, who's making Cacto Loco. His
Right.
Twitter is at tnerb_games, and tnerb is just Brent spelled backwards.
Yeah.
TNERB. Fucking Todd Luke, who's the best human alive. TODLUK. He's making 24 Killers after a successful Kickstarter.
Yeah.
He's the nicest and smartest person ever. I could go down this list for, I don't know. I follow 182 people, and like every single one of them almost I try to talk to on a regular basis. At least 150 of them
Well,
I try
right
to
on.
talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great to see, because it's. I mean, this is more or less the reason why I do this, like to do this type of show, and why I started up my like channel and all that, is because I love talking to developers. It's what I did before when I was in college. I did a game design course, and I loved talking to my friends at the time, and all of them moved on into further game development or doing like their like own indie projects, and like talking to them going through that process like was amazing for me to hear, and like bounce ideas off of them was like really fun for me to do. And I love talking to developers because it's always like fascinating to find out like their creative processes
Mm-hmm.
and just like how they perceive a problem and how they love to solve it, or like how they think like the problem should be solved. I mean, that's what I liked about this conversation, what we just had, like to find out that you love to like start with a original concept and then just keep creating it to almost to a completely different beast almost at the end of it. It's really fun to hear and really like fascinating to find out.
Yeah, it's a process I really enjoy. There's been a few times when I start making something and then I get really into it, like weeks or months into it, and it's like, oh, this is exactly like this game. Oh well, fuck it then, and just stop. Like whatever, this game exists. At least I know it was a good idea.
Yeah, I think
If someone made it, it's a good idea, I guess, to some
yeah.
extent.
I mean, I just saw you on Twitter like about like an hour ago, like just create an idea about like what was it, a mole who like would dig up object like whatever matter he dug up would wear it as a hat.
Yeah, and I made that prototype too, and I really should finish it.
Yeah.
But I posted GIFs of it. Basically, the idea was you couldn't fight anyone directly, so you would have to like dig a hole and sit in the hole, and they'd walk across the top of your head.
Yeah.
And while they were under you, you could jump and throw them into spikes, or you could. It was like a puzzle mechanic. If you needed something to get from point A to point B, they would walk across your head, but you could walk the same speed under them. So they just keep walking forward, even though that doesn't make any sense. And you could lead them places as long as you were moving in the same direction they were.
Yeah, actually sounds really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I could easily see that either being in like either just like a little like mobile game or just being like a full on like fledged like little like puzzle adventure game. It sounds like actually it sounds like a lot of fun, and especially like because like it was earlier today like you were asking for like or is it like acronyms for your police game?
Oh, yeah, because
Like
it has to sound cool.
yeah, and it was like you were looking for something to go along with like
It has to be CPD because it would just be like whatever city police department.
city police department, and I think you eventually chose like extreme.
Oh, the name of the game is Extreme Police,
Oh, okay.
and it's just like 2D Ninja Gaiden Black,
Okay, yeah.
but you're a cop and you just kick the shit out of criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm holding my fingers that you go for my option, which was corrupt city police department.
I did like that. Someone said crime
Crime.
city, and someone else said police. Like
Yeah, police city police.
Yeah.
That's a good
I don't
one.
know. Like I think it just depends on whatever letter I think is the best there. Like I like Q for some reason. Like QCPD sounds cool.
All right, yeah.
So
Like-
I'll probably just figure that out and then
Quantum Quest.
maybe all those
Quack. There we go.
are Quark. It's
Yeah,
just
Quark would work.
It's just a reference to Kerfuffle.
There you go. You're creating your
Yeah.
own lore. Oh,
Kerfuffle has the deepest lore.
Does it?
It does.
I wouldn't be surprised because you've mentioned that you're going to be doing a single player like mode to it, in which you've laid out the groundworks in which it's going to be mini games, which does sound actually really fun because it almost sounds like it could turn into almost another like little project of its own.
Yeah, the single player actually is nothing at all like the multiplayer. You don't play as any of those characters.
Oh, really?
It's not a fighting game. It's like a what's a good way to say it? Like a point and click adventure game.
Oh,
But also a Metroid style lock and key progression.
right.
And it's tied to the events of multiplayer mode. So some of the stuff you need to do, like let's say there's a guard blocking this door, and you can't get past the guard, because you don't have a gun. So if you win, for example, 25 multiplayer games as Quark,
Mm-hmm.
he shows up in this cafe in the single player, and then you can talk to him and learn a little bit about him as a character, get his gun, and then go blast the guard with it, and then move on to the next area.
Oh, okay. That sounds like way
Yeah.
more than what I was like getting at, like the little blurb you put out. I was expecting it just to be like almost like what like Binding of Isaac has in terms of challenge rooms.
Oh, yeah. No, I might do those, like break the target type stuff.
yeah, just
like
like
Smash?
here's a rule set. Just complete this meet these requirements type thing. Like yeah, like what Smash Brothers had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. That stuff would be cool. But this is the idea I have now, and that part is kind of all dependent on whether or not we can get funding. But we can do the multiplayer without a bunch of funding.
Yeah.
So far, the budget for the game has been $0.
It's looking pretty good for $0.
Yeah, so hopefully, like if I sell one copy, technically, I made a profit.
Yeah.
A substantial profit.
Like we're talking about funding it. Have you looked at that prospect? I know you mentioned that like PlayStation have seen it, and they said like we're good to go when you good to go. But like, have they mentioned money, or like have you looked at other alternative routes of funding?
I've looked into it, but I haven't talked to anyone yet because really at this point the game isn't. I wouldn't show it to a publisher. You know,
Right.
it's pretty busted. I mean, well, okay, it's not busted. It's just slow as shit and boring. But in like a couple of weeks, it'll be much better, and then I'll probably show it to some people. But I'm not into the whole crowdfunding thing, and I don't like early access. People paying for it.
Right.
It's like if I could do early access for free, I absolutely would. But I don't think people should pay me to play a game that's not done for my benefit. Because I personally don't need the money to finish it.
Right.
I only need money for the project to pay other people to do the things I can't do.
Yeah.
I don't need a salary to finish the game. Like I'm not going to quit my job and do it. Like I can do the programming and the design and stuff, but it'd be nice to get another artist to help out with some stuff or get a sound guy.
Yeah, just to alleviate most of like the excess work.
Yeah, just things that would like I could learn to do it, but I want the game to be done in my lifetime. So
yeah, I mean that's a again it's interesting to hear where some developers stand on that type of stuff, because there's plenty of people who just go like, yeah, we'll just drop it on Kickstarter, we'll make the money. I mean, it's like I'm not sure if you've seen this recently, but did you see the Kickstarter campaign for what was it, Mooncrest, that happened about a week ago? So,
nope.
It was a bunch of BioWare devs, and they just came out with this idea in which they were going to take a D&D campaign setting and make a old school RPG for it.
Like a computer game or a tabletop game?
Yeah, it was going to be a computer game. It was going to be like what Baldur's Gate was, and they were going to basically just make that, but with a D&D setting. Because D&D, if you're unaware of, is for most of it is almost like royalty free. You just have to say it is a D&D setting, and you can
that's cool.
You can make a game around it, video game around it.
Those BioWare guys can fuck off with that idea. Like, don't charge people money for your idea that's not even your idea. Like,
well, that's the thing that became really interesting, because when they came up with the Kickstarter, it just it got like 2 days about like a week in, they were asking to make, I think it was like $400,000. It made 40, and they had to cancel it because everyone got really confused about the project.
Yeah, it's a stupid idea.
No, because like the dev video, the video that they showed had no like actual footage of the game. It had no real understanding of what the game was, and it just was a bit like everyone who put money into it kind of like walked away with it, just going like, "What did I actually just pay for? Was it a game? Yeah. I'm unsure." And like the devs just came out and just said, "Look, we're really sorry. We'll close down, and then we'll come back later with an actual like demo, so people can actually see what we're talking about." And it's just like stuff like that that's making like crowdsourcing what could have been and can be a great idea in principle, making it this really weird place for people to go, like especially for creators to go to use.
Look at that stupid asshole Inafune. Like, oh, I drew Mega Man that one time. Like, he didn't create Mega Man. A lot of people think that. He didn't fucking create Mega Man. He drew the character based on the sprite that already existed.
And it took a team to make it.
Yeah, and he's been a producer his whole career. Like, he doesn't do anything. The few games he designed aren't even good. Like, fucking Soul Sacrifice sucks.
Yeah, people forget that, like, concept have actually got games. I think people like mainly forgot that because everyone is still waiting for Mighty Number 9 to come out, aren't they?
Yeah, and it looks awful. It looks so bad for all that money, and they're just playing on Mega Man hype that he
Yeah.
didn't even make. So,
It it
like,
it fell into a really weird space, especially with like what happened with Red Ash and what has now happened with
yeah,
Mighty Number 9. It
like, oh, my
almost
first game's not done. Here's the Kickstarter for another game. Like, are you serious? Go fuck yourself. Like,
yeah
you get to make a new game when your first one is a success. Okay?
yeah.
You make that one, you make your money, you put your money into a new project. That's how this works. Stop being a dick. Like, you're taking advantage of a system.
Especially
Like, blatant.
since for most of the part before, like most of the big devs that have went to Kickstarter, bar like a few, they've all kept to that principle. I mean, you look at like what Wasteland 2 did and what like what were they like Pillars of Eternity and all those
Yeah.
people. They went there, said what they were going to make, made it, and then they said, right, we're going to make some more.
Right, like
And
this did well because we know what we're doing,
yeah, I mean, it's
and
like
here we go.
have you seen the Shadowrun campaign that they had to do quickly for Shadowrun Hong Kong?
No, I supported the first Shadowrun though.
Yeah, the Hong Kong one was actually already funded, so they were going to make the base game no matter what. That was a done deal. But they just asked their fans, it's like, hey, we can put more in if
Oh,
you're
right.
interested. You don't have to. You don't have to. This Kickstarter doesn't have to win it all. The game's going to come out. Don't worry, guys. But if you want more content, because it would just like if the money will help in making it for the time, right?
Hmm.
And everyone put in the money, and they went, right, great. All this is we're going to make all this, and everyone walked. Basically, everyone walked with a win-win
Yeah, I
because
could do that with Kerfuffle because the game's gonna get done.
yeah,
You're gonna have 2 to 4 players with 8 to 10 characters, custom game modes, and a bunch of different game type templates to build from. That's what
hmm
the game is. Like, not only does it have asynchronous characters, it's gonna let you create any kind of game type you want to play.
okay,
So, out of you got team deathmatch, free for all, King of the Hill, a mode kind of like Oddball from Halo, where you have to hold an object for a
oh
certain
yeah,
amount of time.
yeah,
Stock timed modes, coin mode where you like hit people and money falls out of them, and whoever has the most at the end wins. Soccer kind of mode where you try to hit a ball and do a goal. Like all of that shit's gonna happen, plus a bunch of modifiers that you can edit for any of those game types. That's gonna get done. It doesn't matter if it takes me another year. That's getting done. And Martin and I both said, yeah, we can totally do this with no funding from anyone. But if we want to do the single player mode, that's a whole another set of shit. Like that's all new assets and a new kind of a new engine, really.
yeah,
Like it doesn't play the same. So like for that to happen, yeah, we need money. Or for it to have like really good sound, we need money. And marketing, absolutely, we need money. But the game's gonna be done no matter what. And I never considered that until just now, knowing that Kickstarter was a success. But that's a cool way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, especially, it's seeing that type of stuff being done and makes me feel good about actually backing a project, and especially seeing the success, or just at least like having the demo for a game also like makes huge strides in for like actually making a customer feel a lot more better about putting money towards a project because they can already see the results, they can already see the product already there. And
Yeah.
so like that wouldn't, as you've just come to the conclusion, it's not using Kickstarter. It does have its benefits, but it's just a shame that for the most part now it's got a real ugly image. But
What? I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I just looked up the Hong Kong thing.
yeah,
$1.2 million,
apparently people really wanted that game.
and they only needed 100,000.
Yeah, like apparently they were being really honest. Like they were
Yeah,
being super honest about it, and just people loved that game. I mean, because like
that's a good game if
yeah,
you haven't played
I
it.
played the first one, And especially because I read like the reviews and like some of the reports, and it's like the first one's not the greatest. The expansion is where it's at, and that's what
Yeah,
we
it took them
probably
a minute to kind of figure out, like, okay, what's good,
yeah.
what's not, you know? Whatever, that happens.
Yeah, and like I'm not like that's something nice to see because it's just like here's something that we've learned from, and here's how good we can make it. It's pretty much like sequels within
Mm.
video games. Sequels in video games work as the first one maybe a bit ropey, but the second one is where we nail it.
Yeah,
'Cause
hopefully.
hopefully,
And
but
not just like the first one made a lot of money. Our next one will make a lot of money. Hotline Miami 2. This game is a piece of shit, but like first game super great. Second game totally feels like a cash in. And I don't know if they did that on purpose, but unless they
uh,
did, but that's what happened.
it's awkward to say because especially since that game had a few delays on it, didn't it?
Maybe
So
I really don't follow development of games too much.
yeah, like they were wanting to come out like well, one originally it took them forever to agree on the fact to even make a sequel. So when it got
It
around,
They didn't need to.
yeah,
Like I can see why they came to that conclusion or it took so long because they didn't need to make a sequel.
yeah, I think like the first one stands so well on its own, and especially since like I not played Hotline Miami 2, but from everything I've heard, it's just like if you play the first one, you don't need to play the second one. So I feel
Yeah.
vindicated in not playing it.
Well, just imagine the first game, but you get shot off screen constantly and it sucks. That's Hotline Miami 2.
Oh, it's a good thing I
So
didn't buy it then.
yeah, well, I mean, it's an art. As bad as it is, it's better than most indie games.
Hmm.
So it's like I say that about Hotline Miami 2 and Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is total garbage, but it's better than every other game that's not Dark Souls. So you know,
So is that one of like all right? So what are the games that you are playing right now? What's been in your like? What's the games that you play to relax, and what are the things that you play just to get a little bit inspired by, like right
uh,
now?
I've been playing Metal Gear Rising on hard to relax,
Yeah.
and Scholar of the First Sin, Dark Souls 2.
All right.
I
Yeah.
just kind of play those games and tune out. Like I don't have to focus super hard.
Yeah.
And
So that's.
Teleglitch is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And other than that, I try to play Disgaea every day.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't played one of them games in ages, but like Dark Souls is one of yeah. No, I'm with you on the Dark Souls
Oh,
and Metal Gear Rising for
yeah.
sure. Because anything Platinum makes, I'm normally buying it no matter what.
It's pretty good. I haven't beaten it before, so this is my first playthrough of it. But yeah, Dark Souls, I don't know why. I mean, I know why people have so much trouble with it and people are on edge and super tense. Like I play that game, my brain just shuts off and I like completely zone out and barely pay attention to what's on the screen and just play it.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's one of those games for me that I understand on a very like deep level, like mechanically
Mhm.
and like tonally and stuff. So when I play through it, it's therapeutic. It's really relaxing, not just oh shit, I'm getting hit by 100 skeletons all the time, but you know, that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, to be
It,
fair, the most I think the most you ever fight in that game is like five enemies, but it's like oh no.
yeah, well Dark Souls 2, they throw a bunch of their idea of hard is look how many enemies are in this room. How about that? And but yeah, I think it's probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I've just had a look at the time, so we're gonna wrap up now.
okay.
So if you want to give any plugs, anything you got to plug, I'd say do it now.
I guess just follow me on Twitter because that's what I do with most of my day, and I always retweet people. Like I go out of my way to retweet people that I think have interesting content, like sprite work or the games they're working on, or jokes or stories or whatever. So I have quite a few followers, I guess. So I like being that portal for cool shit.
Yeah, you almost hit
So
4,000 from what I hear, from what I saw last.
I need one more.
You need one more now?
Yeah,
I think you get that one more by the end of the day.
probably, but we'll see. Oh, I also have ratcasket.com, but that's like my devlog but the link to that is on my Twitter, which is just at ratcasket. And it's not spelled any weird way. Rats, and then the box that you put a dead body in. So.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this has been a huge update with another interview, and like I say, thank you so much for doing this. I love talking to you, and I definitely will have to now try and get Kerfuffle into other people's hands, for sure.
Yes, please do. And if it is in their hands, they get the game for free because I need testing really bad.
All right.
So.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you around. All right.
Yeah, dude. Thanks.